The iPhone SE and the iPhone X, putting these phones side by side, there's a big difference, but Apple still sells both of these phones right on their website. The iPhone X is more than $1,000, where the iPhone SE you can find for less than $200 from a third-party seller. So how well does the iPhone SE compare to the iPhone X in 2018? Let's find out. Let's start with the body itself. The iPhone X is significantly bigger, which gives us a pretty decent 5.8-inch display, where on the iPhone SE we only have a 4-inch display. I mean, comparing these phones side by side, the display on the iPhone X is bigger than the actual body of the iPhone SE. Now with the iPhone X we have something very close to a bezel-less display, where on the other side the iPhone SE has some huge bezels, which will just make the phone feel and look really old despite the decrease in value. I honestly don't have any problems with the way this phone looks. It looks amazing. It's one of the best devices from Apple front and back. It's a great phone for one-hand use. It's pretty affordable being an Apple device. So if you're looking for something on a budget or something easy to carry around, this is the way to go. On the other side, the iPhone X is a lot more futuristic, luxurious, and feels really premium. And it comes at a really premium price tag, starting at $1,500 for the base storage here in Canada. We have a full glass back and a really glossy finish to the chassis, and even though everything looks and feels really good, you're better off having a case on this thing, because if you drop and crack the back glass, Apple charges $549 to replace here in Canada. And last time I checked, it's cheaper to get a brand new iPhone SE than to replace the back glass of this thing. But besides that, this thing being the phone driving the future iPhones with a bezel-less display is more likely to hold its value. Well, at least better than the iPhone SE down the line, and you'll be less likely to feel a need to upgrade than you would owning the SE. Now moving more towards features and internals, the iPhone SE has a very fast fingerprint scanner right on the home button, and the iPhone X replaces that with Face ID, and I'm using this phone ever since it came out, and let me tell you, there are times Face ID just isn't working, and I really wish the iPhone X had Touch ID somewhere on the phone, so appreciate that while you have it on the iPhone SE. Looking more further into the displays, beside the size, the iPhone X has an OLED panel, which is a lot better than the LCD panel on the iPhone SE. The OLED panel gives a lot more detail, sharp colors and deep blacks, and you just have to put them side by side to see the difference. But does that mean the display on the iPhone SE sucks? Absolutely not. It's a good display for the size of the phone and the price. Besides that, for the display, the iPhone X also has 3D touch, which is another feature we're missing on the iPhone SE. For the front-facing camera, some big differences. The iPhone X has a 7-megapixel camera, which is able to do portrait mode with background blurs and the ability to change lighting and all that, where on the other side, a very basic 1.2-megapixel camera with no fancy features. Turning to the back, some big differences and similarities. Both phones have a 12-megapixel camera, but on the iPhone X we have a dual camera, so two 12-megapixel cameras. And both have built-in image stabilization. On the iPhone SE, no type of optical image stabilization whatsoever. The camera on the iPhone X is a f2.2, where it's a f2.4 on the SE. So this means the iPhone X is able to let in more light and perform better in low light conditions. Both phones do 4K, but the iPhone X is capable of doing 4K at 60 frames per second, where we only have 30 frames per second for the iPhone SE. Moving more towards performance side of things, let's quickly get specs out of the way and then we'll talk about real life performance. So a 3GB RAM for the iPhone X, where only a 2GB RAM for the iPhone SE. The iPhone X is running on Apple A11 chip, where a A9 processor on the iPhone SE, which if you don't know is the same processor found on the iPhone 6s. Base storage 64GB and 32 for the iPhone SE, with Bluetooth 5.0 for the iPhone X and 4.2 for the SE. Now the iPhone X is capable of fast charging and wireless charging, where the iPhone SE can't do neither. But talking real life scenarios, using both phones side by side, they both perform really well. The iPhone SE is surprisingly still very powerful. If I have to take the SE with me, I don't feel like I'm losing on performance or power. The only big downfall for me would be the 4-inch display and the small body size. The battery still performs really good, easily gets me throughout the 8 hours of school or work, but depending on how heavy you use your phone, if you want your battery to last until you hit the bed, and especially if you have a used model, you might need to carry a power bank. In fact, I'll link some affordable ones down below. Gaming works good on both phones. Again, I don't feel like I'm losing on performance or power. So even after this thing selling for such affordable prices, it still performs really well. If you are considering an iPhone SE, it's probably the price or the size, and in both cases, it's a great phone. The iPhone X is definitely more luxurious, will last longer, but does come at a luxurious price tag. And it's a bigger size phone if you're not a fan of that. So yeah guys, that will be wrapped. The iPhone SE is affordable, easy to carry around, good battery life, still has a better camera than most phones out there, still has a fingerprint scanner, a headphone jack, and if you're okay with the bezels and an LCD panel, the iPhone SE is well worth it. Let me know what you would pick, the iPhone SE or the iPhone X, and subscribe for more content like this if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.